So I wanted to take the time here to talk a little bit about Storm King's Thunder and my particular gripes with this adventure. So to be quite frank, I'm not sure if there's really a reason for this video. I don't know if there's like a point that I might want to make with this, if there's a purpose to this. The reality of it is that I have been thinking about this for a long time. I have a strange, weird fascination with this campaign, with this particular campaign, and its problems and how to fix them and why the adventure doesn't work. And it's become almost something of a mythos in my life recently, where I've been DMing for 5 or 4 years or so, and throughout those 4 or so years I have tried Storm King's Thunder a few times, all of them of course being kind of failures. Storm King's Thunder is the only adventure that I haven't been able to finish, and I have done a lot of adventures, and it's become this thing where when I first started, it was the first campaign that I ever DM'd, like official D&D canon adventure that I ever DM'd, and it didn't work. And as I got better and better DMing, as the more I learned about the world and about how to not, you figure it out, how to not make mistakes, how to better motivate your players, this sort of things. When you become better and better at DMing, I would sort of like attempt the adventure again, and then it would fail, and then I would try and get better, and years would pass, and then I would try again. and it failed the third time. And it's become this thing where I've just find it almost fascinating that I haven't really been able to make it work. And I'm actually about to enter my 4th try of Storm King's Thunder. Somewhere in like 5 or 6 months or so, I might try it again, now that I feel comfortable with my DMing abilities, that I feel like I possibly could give it another shot. But I'm just obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with trying to find the truth about what is wrong with this campaign and how I could fix it. So this video is basically just me talking about this because I just want to talk about this. I'm kind of in the mood for this right now, so I hope that you guys are cool with this. But I want to split this video into 2 different things, right? Because there are things about Storm King's Thunder that are very much fixable, but then there are other things that are not. And the way that it kind of worked out, it's interesting. The beginning section of Storm King's Thunder, which is what we call Chapter 1, the Great Upheaval, there are a lot of problems with this chapter, but it is fixable. And then there's the other part, which is specifically Chapter 3, the Savage Frontier, which is the open world section of the adventure, that is not very fixable. And I want to go through why one is fixable, why the other one isn't, and what these problems actually are. So from the get-go, let's just talk about the adventure itself, a synopsis, if you will, of Storm King's Thunder. So what is this campaign? So the campaign takes you from 1 to 11, and it features giants. It's supposed to be a sort of like a direct sequel of Hoard of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat, where, and by the way, before I even go through that, spoilers. There's going to be a lot of spoilers for a lot of adventures, namely Curse of Strahd, let's see, Tomb of Annihilation, of course, Storm King's Thunder, and maybe a little bit of Hoard of the Dragon Queen. So if you're playing those games, if you're a player, not a DM, then I recommend just kind of maybe not watching this video unless you don't care about spoilers, but you should care. Anyways, that out of the way. Storm King's Thunder is supposed to be a direct sequel of Hoard of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat, because the idea here is that there was this whole event with Tiamat. She tried to basically take over the world, and the giants, which are supposed to be the enemies of the dragons, they didn't do anything. And they are supposed to be the ones that are supposed to destroy the dragons, but they didn't. And the leader, the chieftain of the pantheon of giants, basically got really upset with the giants because they didn't do anything, and because of that, it's the reason I'm going to try and be as vague as possible, but that's the reason why all of this is happening. The chieftain of the Pantheon is angry with the giants. He dissolved the Ordning, which is this system that governates the giants, and because it is dissolved, all the giants are going crazy. So the adventure features giants, features every single kind of giant: the hill giants, stone giants, the cloud giants, fire, frost giants, and of course the storm giants. And every giant type has like their own dungeon, their own reason for why they're going around destroying everything, and you as the adventurer, you're supposed to go all around the world kind of just defeating the giants wherever you find them and disrupting their plans. And of course at the end you figure out the real reason as to why things are happening, and you go and you defeat the evil bad guy. Straightforward idea, really cool, right? The concept here is that this is supposed to be a massive open world adventure, and here I have on the screen what is basically the map. This is the entire map of Storm King's Thunder, and as you can see, it is quite massive, and the idea is that you could literally go anywhere on the map that you see that has like a name. You could theoretically just go to, and there are descriptions for each of these places. Of course, the descriptions are very minute, which is part of the problem, but before we get there, let's talk about the problems that can actually be fixed and why those problems exist. So the first thing, the actual fixable part, is the beginning. So to start Storm King's Thunder, you actually start all the way down here in Daggerford. And the concept is that you're just a group of adventurers, sort of newbies, you have no idea what's going on with the world, and you're taken to Nightstone, where apparently there is sort of like a wealthy patron that is willing to give you money to do a series of tasks. Very simple stuff, problems that they're having with the elves in the Ardeep forest, which is the forest that is just right by the town. When you get there, of course, things are not what seem to be. The goblins appears to have attacked. You discover that in fact were giants that caused the entire problem in Nightstone, and that is supposed to kind of just like give you this link to the adventure, right? It's like this introduction to the grand problem of the giants. So what's the problem with this kind of like startup? The problem is, and I'm again trying to be as fake as possible, but the problem here is that the adventure, this little mini adventure that's supposed to take you from 1 to 5, goes too fast. See, the actual adventure of Storm King's Thunder is supposed to take you from 5 to 11, right? Everything that you see here in this entire map, all of these chapters and maps and dungeons, it's really only supposed to be from 5 to 11. So this entire section that takes you from 1 to 5 is this kind of a side thing, this really quick thing to get you very quickly into level 5 and right into the action. Now, how fast you go through here sort of defies anything else that has happened in 5th edition. And some players, and this is where I think we're entering a little bit of the subjective side of my arguments here, is that a lot of players actually enjoy going fast from 1 to 5, and I've played with a lot of people that do, and I can definitely say that I can be one of those players depending on the adventure. I mean, look, a lot of players start Curse of Strahd at level 3, and that's great. A lot of players hate level 1 because of how spiky it is, how dangerous it feels. You don't really have any abilities, you're not really even like your true class, right? Like if you're like a paladin, you haven't even taken your oath. If you're a wizard, you don't even have an arcane tradition. It just feels weird for a lot of players, and I completely get that. I appreciate that, right? The problem though with Nightstone and the first chapter is that you can literally level twice per session. Like if you're going fast enough, you can literally level twice per session. That's a problem for me. I get it's not a problem for everybody, but anyways, that's fixable. It's one of those things that happens in a lot of campaigns where you can tweak a thing here and there and you can fix it. You can add roleplay, you can add a lot of shenanigans, you can slow things down. I mean, there are tons of ways in which you can slow things down, so that's not really a big deal. Second problem is the reason why all of this is happening. So in the middle of this town, there's supposed to be an obelisk, and you see the hole right there in the middle of town. This whole place was attacked by cloud giants. They attacked this place in the middle of nowhere so that they could steal that black obelisk in the middle of town. Now, of course, when you get there and you talk to the people of the town, they tell you, hey, and this is not something that they even have to tell you, this is like cultural of the area. Nightstone is famous because of the Nightstone. So the stone is magical. It exudes magic. Any person that casts Detect Magic can feel the essence growing inside of this thing. But whenever you try and study it, you can't really discern what the magic is. You can try and cast Identify on it. It doesn't tell you anything. You can try Legend Lore. It doesn't tell you anything, right? There's something weird and mystical about this stone that it's intriguing. That's a mystery. And you know what? People like mysteries, and that's awesome. The idea of, if you're playing with players that take notes, players that are really interested in what's going on, you're going to find that they're going to become really invested in this. This is a cool mystery, right? Cloud giants literally came out of nowhere all the way over here just to take this stone to do some kind of, a dark ritual? So, whatever it is that they're doing, that's interesting. That is a plot hook, and that would be a great plot hook. Except that nothing ever comes out of it. There is nowhere in this adventure a resolution to this one particular thing, and this is how the adventure starts. The stealing of the Nightstone, and that never comes into play in the adventure at all. The giants who stole it never appear again. The Nightstone never appears again. No one ever tells you what the Nightstone is supposed to do. Nothing ever comes out of it. And that is one of the most dissatisfying things, just terrible game design overall, that is just disappointing. That particular part is maybe a tad bit more fixable. It's just a matter of giving the stone some usage. You can easily say that it was one of the actual giants that does appear in the adventure that stole them, and then give it some bullshit reason. It doesn't matter, it's fixable. It's a problem, it's annoying, but it's fixable. The other problem is, of course, Sephiroth. So at the end of the adventure, once you're level 5, you have completed this little sting here, you've defeated the goblins, and you have liberated the town of Nightstone. You basically get this cloud giant shows up in this hilarious tower. And the giant essentially offers you the main quest. He tells you that there are great things happening, and that for some reason, right, the players are bound to fix the problem, and he wants to take them anywhere on the map. The problem with this is that it's all a lie. Even though the players get to choose anywhere on the map to go, he can only really take them to one of 3 different places. And of course, these are the places where the adventure actually can start, where the adventure is supposed to start. It can be in Bryn Shander or Bryn Shandir, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. There's Tribor, and then there is Golden Fields. Any of those 3 places, Sephiroth can take you to. If you tell him to take you anywhere else, the book literally tells you that Sephiroth gets confused or confuddled or whatever. He's a little crazy because he's been trying to communicate with entities beyond the astral plane. And so he gets a little confuddled, and he takes you to any of those 3 places anyways, regardless of whatever you say or want. That's kind of stupid. Just to be quite frank, just giving the players an illusion of a choice and then have it be dispelled like that, it's just bad game design. It's just bad. The whole idea and concept is just silly. But again, easy to fix. You can very easily find a reason for players to want to go to any of those 3 places. You can give them quests, you can give them personal quests, you can give them family members, you can literally tell them from Sephiroth, hey, you have to go to Tribor, there's something going on in there, right? You can give them many reasons. Incentivizing players to go to a place, very trivial, very easy, that's no problem. But my point here with all of this is that there are a lot of problems with this starting section, but they can all be fixed. And if you don't like to fix any of these things, if you really hate the idea of trying to come up with a reason why the Nightstone has to be important, you can literally just say, well, screw all of this. Screw the entire first chapter. We're going to start you up at level 5. Or which would be my favorite option, you could literally just do Lost Mines of Phandelver. You can have them do the starting adventure of the Lost Mines of Phandelver, which is an extraordinarily beautiful, awesome, and fun campaign that takes players from 1 to 5, and then just have them start from Phandelver into Tribor, which is a particularly easy transition to do, one of the easiest transitions you will ever do with 5th edition adventures. And then you're good, and then you can go and start playing the book, and that's awesome, right? But now let's go over to what is not fixable, just to give you guys kind of like the difference into how a book can really be ruined without really the ability to be able to be fixed, without using like clever ways of doing so. So, the problem with Storm King's Thunder. Storm King's Thunder, quite frankly, is far too big. I mean, you look at this entire map, and it is kind of overwhelming. I mean, when you first read the book, or when you're a player playing this game, it is really exciting. You look at something like this and you say, my god, I have always wanted to play in Neverwinter. I love Neverwinter. I have played the MMO. I maybe you know the characters, maybe you know the locations in Neverwinter. Boy, I am so excited to see what Storm King's Thunder has done to Neverwinter. Hey team, let's go there. I made my backstory in there. I have a family in there. I'm whatever, right? You go to Neverwinter and then you realize there is actually nothing in Neverwinter. So I'm gonna go ahead and type here Neverwinter, and I'm going to show you guys what we actually get of Neverwinter. So what they do here is they basically describe Neverwinter for you, and this is what would appear in the book. I'm using Roll20 here to kind of facilitate you guys, so you can like actually watch what I'm seeing here. But they basically describe Neverwinter. They describe who the Lord of Neverwinter is, and maybe a little bit of backstory as to what happened in the past. And that's it. Just kind of it. There is no mission here. There is no map. There's nothing to do. There's no people. There's no adventure in here, right? So of course they tell you here that if you want more information about Neverwinter, to go read Sword Coast Adventures Guide, which I have no problem with. The problem is that still doesn't give you anything to do in Neverwinter. So the reality of it is that this is just a flyover city. There's nothing to do here. This is not unique to Neverwinter. In fact, 80% of this map actually behaves like this. Enormous places that are supposed to be crucial to the Sword Coast have absolutely no content to them. Luskan, there's nothing to do to Luskan. Luskan is huge, by the way. There's an entire video game that is basically dedicated to Luskan. If you guys have ever played Sword Coast, is it called Sword Coast Adventures? I think I have. I don't remember the name. It's all set in Luskan. It's a great city. Tons of lore, tons of really cool characters, interesting designed. One of the biggest characters in sort of like the lore of D&D. It's set in Luskan, and there's just nothing in there, right? Mirabar, once again, there's nothing in Mirabar. You can go to Mithril Hall, and there's really nothing in there. It's a shame. So why does this happen? Because it is too big. And let me explain. I'm going to try and dissect this in the best way that I can, and to do that I want to use a different adventure. So here is, I've been running Tomb of Annihilation, so you might see some scribbles here and there. This is the map of Chult. This is from Tomb of Annihilation. So what I like about Tomb of Annihilation and the way they go about doing open world style is that it really doesn't matter where they go or what they do, they will always find content and purpose. You can literally drop your players in Port Nyansaru, I pronounce it Nyansaru, but I'm terrible at pronouncing things. You can drop them in the port, and it literally doesn't matter where they want to go or what they want to do, they will be good. They'll find great content with awesome dungeons, beautiful art, tons of loot to gather, and tons of different like plot hooks that will take them to other locations. So it doesn't matter where they go, they never feel as if they're missing out on something better. And that to me is crucial. They could choose, and by the way, they have tons of different guides to pick from. Every single guide will take them different places and to different dungeons. They can go here and explore the goblin side of things, they can explore Vorn, they can go into Umbala and Orolunga. You have maps for literally every single one of those locations with interesting characters and villains and treasures. You could go to the undead section and go and visit Mesro. You could go into the Wreck of the Narwhal, Needle's Bones, Kirsaval, Nangalore. All of these places are incredible. You could decide to go to Fort Belwarion. There's a map for that, and that's great. You could take the river and go to Camp Righteous and Vengeance and explore Aldani Basin. And you could go to the pirates. There's maps for the pirates. There are pirate ships. There's this entire event that happens when you leave the Bay of Chult on a ship where you get attacked by a dragon turtle. These are all things that the book gives you. It doesn't matter where you go. Things are great, and you don't feel like you're missing out. If you do Storm King's Thunder, and we'll go back to Storm King's Thunder, this place is so massive that they spend dozens and dozens of pages trying to describe every single one of these places that the actual important locations that should have been described are really not. So you have maybe like a paragraph for Beliard, you might have a paragraph for Wormford, you might have a paragraph for Ulevin and Secumber and Yulkin. But these are places that are frankly not that important. And they could be, right? I mean, there's an entire adventure that is set in the Serene Valley, and I have it right here. This is the Serene Valley. All of these places would be very non-important in the grand scheme of things, but when you make an adventure that is just set in here, you can make them important, because all that it takes is to get cool missions, cool side quests, cool people to talk to, and bam, you have an interesting campaign. But if you only spend a single paragraph to describe a place, it's literally useless. And this is, once again, the time when I feel like you're gonna have people that are just gonna disagree with me. And I think the best way to describe how Storm King's Thunder can be good is if you're willing to homebrew. And that's probably like the biggest kind of realization that I had kind of just trying out Storm King's Thunder after years of giving it like, you know, different shots here and there throughout the years, is that if you enjoy building content from the ground up, if you like building your own cities, if you like building your own NPCs, just really, once again, just from the ground up, creating your very own thing, then you're gonna like this, because there's tons of places that you can build up yourself and make your own adventures yourself. If you're the type of person that likes to go into the DM's Guild and find cool third-party adventures to run, and just add into your world, then this is gonna be awesome for you. I mean, this is literally the best adventure for doing that. But if you're the type of DM that likes to play what the book gives you, if you want to make it as genuine as you can by just using the book, then this is gonna be awful. And that's basically why. So why did this happen? How come they didn't have enough pages to explore this? The biggest problem in the way that they went about designing this is that they tried to make Storm King's Thunder into, they wanted to add replayability. And the way that they went about doing that was they designed it so that you could go one of 5 different ways in this sort of whole map. So from starters, you have the 3 starting places. So you can start the adventure in 3 different places, and each of these places has a really cool map, a really cool massive event, and the entire thing is very well explored. Might not be as defined and as, I don't know, I guess it might not have as much content as something like Port Insaru, but each of those places is rich in lore. And has tons of different interesting things to do and a lot of side quests, so that's awesome. However, players might only be able to explore 1 or 2, and that's honestly okay. this is one of the things that they did with the whole kind of like replayability factor of the game that I personally agree with, and that's how you do it. You have 3 different starting places. Players can choose any of them. That's awesome and that's fun. And even if a player didn't start in one of them, they can still go and explore any of the other ones, right? So even if they choose Golden Fields and they really enjoy Golden Fields, they can still go to Tribor and enjoy Tribor. They can still go to Bring Shandir and explore that place. And you have the maps and you have the encounters and it's all good. That's an example of how you're supposed to do a kind of like choose the way you want to go style of adventure, while simultaneously not limiting the players or limiting the amount of content that you have in your adventure. The way that you don't do it is what they did with the actual giant dungeons. So there are 5 giant dungeons scattered all throughout this map. There's supposed to be Dead Stone Cleft, which is where the stone giants are. There is a flying castle of the cloud giants here in the Evermoors. There is Iron Slag, which is where the fire giants are. There is Svartverg, which is where the frost giants are. There's Grithog, which is where the hail giants are. And I'm missing one? I feel like I'm missing one. Maybe I'm not. But regardless, you can't explore them all. Like, frankly, you just can't. The idea here, the adventure basically tells you that you only need to do one of these giant dungeons, and you get the item that you're supposed to get at the end of the dungeon, and then that item is going to take you into the next chapter of the adventure, which is where you sort of deal with the storm giants and figure out like what's the real plot of the adventure. So what ends up happening? Any one group of players playing through Storm King's Thunder is just gonna miss 80% of the content, right? So let's say that you have a group of players that start in Tribor, and then they decide to explore to Everloon and then Silvery Moon, and then they go to Hawk's Nest, and maybe in there they find Harshnag, which is supposed to take them into the next section. Beautiful, right? Maybe they pick that they like the Silver Marches, they liked being in Silvery Moon, I can't blame them. So they want to do Iron Slag, which is very close. Beautiful. They go over, they fly, and then they do Iron Slag. And then they move on to the next part of the adventure. In that particular circumstance, they literally missed half the map. That's more than half the map. They ended up missing Dead Stone Cleft. They ended up missing the Cloud Giant Castle. They ended up missing Svarberg. They didn't do any of this stuff. And that wouldn't be a problem, except that all of those places and all of those dungeons basically take over half of the book's pages. And then you realize that, oh, actually, there was really nothing to do in Silvery Moon. There wasn't really that much to do or anything to do in Sundabar. Yeah, I remember us passing through Citadel Felbar in Newford, and there was nothing to do there. Why didn't they spend all those pages describing... didn't they know that we were going to pass through those citadels? Why didn't they describe those places? They didn't, because they spend dozens of pages describing things that you're never going to do. And that's my problem. That's what you're not supposed to do. Sure, having all of those dungeons adds replayability for the DM. But that's beside the point if you stretch yourself so thin that the places that players will travel to will not have content and won't be meaningful. Once again, another adventure to explain how open world is supposed to be done. This is Curse of Strahd, of course, one of my favorite campaigns, and I bet it's one of yours favorite campaigns. I mean, everybody loves Curse of Strahd. It's beautiful. Beautiful campaign. Let me try and fix this so there's not too... Alright, whatever. So, in Curse of Strahd, it starts fairly linear. I mean, you're basically kind of just forced into the village of Barovia, and then from there you make it to Vallaki. I mean, this is kind of like most adventures, how most of them are gonna go. But from Vallaki, once again, you can tell your players, hey, you can do anything. You can go anywhere. What do you want to do? And it doesn't matter where they go. They could go to Kresk, and they'll find great content in there. They can go into the camp. There's a hidden camp here of Vistani that they can go to, and that's fine. There's a beautiful map for that, great stuff to do. They can go into the castle where the revenants are, and that's great. They can go into the wine place, and they can do that, and they can go to Jester Hill, that's fine. Like, all of these places have beautiful art, great maps, tons of content, tons of side quests to do, treasure, whatever. It doesn't matter where they go, they're gonna find very interesting plot. Hell, they can go to the castle. They could literally just say, screw all of that, we're just gonna go straight into Strat's castle. And you know what, you can do that. You can have a blast just going through all of the rooms in the castle. Even though you might only be level 5 or level 6, you can do it. It's beautiful. You can do it. And it's great. And you might even find Esmeralda the Avenir inside and have a blast role-playing with her and going through and slaying some low-level spawns in the castle. It's great. This is how you make an open-world game. Every single place, you're supposed to... It's very... How to describe this? There is a lot of replayability in Curse of Strahd because every player, every group of players that you bring here are going to do something different. Right? They're all going to go to different places. And once again, I bring it back to Tomb of Annihilation. You could play Tomb of Annihilation with 5 different groups, and I guarantee you that each group is going to do something different. Once again, some people might just go to the pirates, other people might just go through the river, others might just go through the undead zone, or other people might just go through the goblins, or they might go to Fort Beluaria and grab a couple of mercenaries and then go through the undead zone. Like, you can have a lot of different things, but every single one of those people are going to experience the plot 100% of the time. They're never gonna step into a place that has nothing to do. Maybe Mesro is like the one weak part of Tomb of Annihilation, but regardless of that, honestly, it doesn't matter where they go. They're gonna have a blast, they're gonna have a lot of plot. Same thing with Curse of Strahd. It really doesn't matter where they go, they're gonna find a lot of really cool content. And you don't have your players feeling like, maybe we should have gone over here, maybe we should have done that. Yeah, this place was a bust, we should have gone the other way. They're never gonna say that. Really, they're not. Whereas in Storm King's Thunder, they will. If you go maybe south here, you decide to go from Golden Fields to Wormford into Yulubin, Secumber, Yilkund. Honestly, you fucked up. Like, if you did that as a group and you're not homebrewing, you kind of fucked up because there's nothing to do down there. You ended up not enjoying what's in Tribord, which is great. You didn't end up enjoying Bryn Shandir, which is great, right? And then you have to travel with Harshnag all the way up, and that's just supposed to cover one single level. So again, it's designed very, very oddly. And to kind of just conclude this entire rant, I don't know how you can really fix this without having to homebrew everything, right? Of course, all of this would be easy if I could just go to Red Large and literally just make up my own Red Large with a lot of giant related side quests and plot hooks that feel interesting and that are completely 100% related to the plot. So they feel like, yeah, they enjoyed their stay in Red Large, right? I could do that for every single location. I don't want to do that, right? I could design a route for them to take, the most optimal route for them to go. I could have them be dropped in Golden Fields, have them go from Golden Fields to Waterdeep, and then use Waterdeep's Dragon Heist to run Waterdeep. That would be fun. Then I can have them go to Resalantar, Amphail. I mean, these places, there's nothing in these places. Red Large, maybe I could use Princess of the Apocalypse to do Red Large, and Westbridge. I can use Tribor, right? I mean, this route is not so bad. We have a lot of content for this route, but then it breaks apart again, right? From Tribor, there's really nowhere that I can take them without really running through a lot of just kind of bait places. There's nothing to do. Mirabar is a huge place. There's no content for that. I could maybe do Everloon Silvery Moon, but then I have to cross these things over here to take them to the cavern. I'm sorry, to take them to the Eye of the Old Father. A lot of homebrewing I might have to do in there, or just, I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't really have a solution that is elegant and perfect. Of course, it always sucks to tell your players, hey, by the way, we're gonna be using Storm King's Thunder. There are a lot of places in here that are not described. They're not really meant to. There's nothing that happens in there. It sucks. It sucks to do that. When you play something like Tomb, your players understand that they might not be required to go to Lantern, right? They know that the Dawn Warrior might not be part of the adventure. They know that Mother of Mists might not be part of the adventure, right? And even though there is stuff about those places in the lore and in books and probably in previous editions, the book doesn't have anything for Mother of Mists, right? And your players might understand that. It makes sense if I tell my players, hey, just focus on the peninsula. That's where Tomb of Annihilation is set. That's very easy for your players to understand and to respect. But you look at something like this and it's like, by the way, guys, don't go to Luskan because there's nothing in Luskan. Like that just feels bad, man. That just feels the worst. So that's just my rant, I guess. If you're not willing to homebrew, this thing just kind of doesn't work. And I guess a reason for why I wanted to do this is because this is something that I feel like in a different way kind of happened with Dungeon of the Mad Mage. It seems to be this thing that Wizards of the Coast is doing with some of these adventures that is just driving me crazy. They did it with Dragon Heist. Dragon Heist, of course, has different... Again, no spoilers alert here, but Dragon Heist has different seasons, and each season has a different villain. So every single group that you play with is really only going to experience a fourth of the adventure of the entire book, because the other 3/4 are in different seasons, so they're just not going to experience those villains in those dungeons. So, you know, even though there is replayability for the DM, the players are missing a lot of content. Now, that is not so bad. In fact, I might even go so far as to say it's not bad at all in Dragon Heist, because there is a lot of content for any particular group to go through, right? It doesn't matter what season you pick, you're going to have a lot of content and you're going to have a blast. There's never going to be a point in time where you're going to be like, this place is too thin in content. No, really, honestly not. You're not going to. There's a lot of content, it's fine. But then Dungeon of the Mad Mage is the opposite. There's really not a... it's not about necessarily with Dungeons of the Mad Mage that there's just a lot of replayability that we're trying to go through with the book. It's just a matter of they're just going too wide. They went so wide with Dungeon of the Mad Mage that they're really... your players just kind of lose focus in every single one of the levels, and that's just something that keeps on happening, that I'm very scared, because I feel like they started really strong with a lot of adventures. I mean, Tomb of Annihilation is perfect, Curse of Strahd is perfect, and then you have this, then you have the Mad Mage, where they try to go too big, and then they don't really explore each section to the detriment of the content, and that's just a shame. Before I go, I just kind of thought of something. This is going to be my plight to Wizards of the Coast. Next time you do something like this, an adventure like this, why not just, instead of making 5 giant dungeons, just make 2. It's fine. Gives the players something to choose. Do you want to go A or do you want to go B? That's fine enough. It adds some replayability for the DM, but most importantly, all those pages that you spent building those other 3 dungeons and all of those areas around those other 3 dungeons, you can just spend all those pages making the other content even better. Instead of making the world be 300% the size, just make it 100% the size and make it 3 times better. That's how you make a real campaign. That's how you make Curse of Strahd and Tomb of Annihilation. Curse of Strahd, for those of you who do not know, it takes a day to walk from one side of Curse of Strahd to the other. Literally, like, you can walk as a character, you can walk from one side of Curse of Strahd to the other. It's a very small valley, yet because it is very small, you can spend a lot of time exploring and describing and adding content for every single square of that place. And that's why the whole place is great, because it doesn't matter where you look, there's great content. That's how we should do it. If Curse of Strahd was 4 times bigger, with a 4 times bigger map and 4 times the dungeons, it would be a quarter of how good it is, because you would have to split all that time, all those paragraphs, and make everything just less in order to make it bigger. And it's just not worth it. There's no point to it, because it doesn't make the campaigns better. Being bigger doesn't make it better. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. I wanted to add that bit in there. But that's it. that's my rant. I just wanted to talk about Storm King's Thunder. Some reason I'm fascinated with this adventure. I like running it in spite of the fact that it has a lot of issues. I'm going to find a way to make it work. And I want to hear what you guys have to say, because if you guys have a way to make this work, maybe like a cool route that you guys have figured out that has a lot of content that I can use, of course, I would be more than happy to hear what you guys have to say. Once again, no purpose to this video, just kind of wanted to rant a little bit, been thinking about this for a while, so here you go. Hopefully we can have the next video on the Rituals of Complement in maybe 2 or 3 days. I'm still working on those, gathering as much info as I can before I start writing that script. But in any case, thank you guys for listening to me talk about nonsense and about Dungeons and Dragons. I hope that at least some of you enjoyed this. And I suppose I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.